The other place I see this potentially being of use is for people who are adding Linux to an OEM system where they didn't get the Windows disk. So the only thing they have is that factory ISO restore, which the only way it knows how to restore the computer is to completely erase the hard drive.
A hidden partition, yeah.
Well, it's not just that. Sometimes repartitioning it will screw it up, but inevitably, if you're going to keep using Windows, at some day in the future, you're going to have to reinstall Windows, because the one constant with Windows is eventually it will get screwed up enough that you need to reinstall it. It's gonna happen. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Either you'll have too many open errors and it'll just be running too slow. It's like routine maintenance on a Windows. Yeah, routine maintenance on a Windows box, depending on use and how long it's run and yada yada and so forth, is on average every 18 months or so redo the system. And if the only way you have to do this is this factory image that is a separate partition on that drive, when you boot into that factory image, it's going to go, yes, I'm going to erase the entire hard drive now. Is that okay? You're going to go, no, I have Linux over here. Please leave Linux alone and just install over Windows. Well, that option doesn't exist. So if you're messing with one of these systems, it's the only way I can see that you're going to be able to use Windows because of the way they're forcing you to use it. Where when you repair Windows, you don't have to wipe out your other OS that has nothing wrong with it. Because it's on an entirely different hard drive that is self-contained.
Yeah, I can definitely see the merit of having a separate drive, unless obviously you're on a laptop. And even then, if you, well, that's where the whole idea of dual booting, you know, how devoted are you going to be? How often are you going to be going back to the other distro, the other OS? Excuse me. But there are a lot of people that will use like a USB stick or an external USB drive to install Linux on that, because those are a dime a dozen at this point.
Oh yeah. No,
rather than having to, if you had a laptop, for example, you could use an 8 or 16 gig USB drive to have an install on it.
Yeah, you could do that. Although on the laptop, it's like, yeah, it's not. I mean, they make 2 hard drive laptops, but really, do you want to? I haven't seen one yet that I want to buy, to be quite honest. It's like it would be nice if they'd fix that stuff. And really, this is a problem caused largely by Microsoft, not so much Sony. It's just reacting to it. On laptops, you're better off to dual boot, but like you say, how often are you rebooting the other thing? What I find I prefer, especially on laptops, is a VirtualBox over a dual boot.
It's actually on my laptop. That's what I did for a long time.
Yeah, it's like you have Linux as your base OS, and then you have if you're doing things where you need it, you have a Windows VirtualBox.
That's where I'm stuck in a Windows world at work. I didn't want to have to reboot the system to get into Windows to do work for work. I just wanted to bring up a VirtualBox, open up my VPN, and do all what I need to do. So if you don't need the 3D acceleration to work as well as it would natively.
Well, the other problems that come with that is you can't use the 64-bit version of Windows and the 32-bit virtual machine very well.
Right.
And other issues like that.
But if you run a 32-bit virtual machine, you're probably running a 32-bit distro and may not even be interested in running a 64-bit Windows.
Yes, but did your computer come with that 64-bit Windows? That's actually the other problem with virtual machines. Because of the licensing and legal hoopla bullshit, there's not a legal way, and I love this, to take the Windows ISO restore disk that came with your laptop and install it into the virtual machine, because it'll go, warning, 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 you're not installing me on the same system I came with. I'm like, yes I am. No, I can't tell that you are. It's like, and it throws
that's actually where, sort of skirting the idea of it, if you're a VMware user, there's a product to fix that.
I know there's a product to fix that, but it's of questionable legality. But let's go ahead and bring it up, just because I'm sure this is the type of questionable legality I don't have a problem with telling people how to do. And the reason I say that is because you're using it on a damn machine it's licensed to.
Yeah.
Whatever you have to do to make it happy, do it.
It's not a licensing issue. It's a OS limitation that it won't let you do it.
Yeah, no, it's a DRM issue is what it is. It's not an OS limitation. It's DRM. A normal Windows disk wouldn't do this.
But the product itself, VMware Converter,
yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, it will take whatever you've got on your system, even all the files and everything, and pop it into a VMDK file. The problem with that is it doesn't run terribly well in VirtualBox in my experience, but if you run VMware Player, VMware Server, whatever, that's a great way to go.
The other thing I've found on that, unless they've fixed it, is you can't necessarily read every file in there from outside the VM. Can you? It's like, because it's very much like XP mode is in Windows 7, and that it's in its own little wrapper, so you can't read all those files from outside of it.
Unless you're just running it?
Right.
Okay. That makes some sense.
Yeah, well, it's like in a VirtualBox, in a true VirtualBox install, I could access every single file that's on the Windows system from the Linux side. Because it's in a slash, the default location is /home/user/some location. So it's an actual file there in this expanding shot. When you do that type of stuff, it gets wrapped in this special little thing that then it isn't an actual file anymore. Which, unless they've managed to fix that.
See, on VirtualBox, it just has .bdi files, and I don't know if there's a way to actually get in there and do stuff with it. I don't know. But either way, if you are running Windows and you don't want to run it where you have to reboot, VMware Converter will get you a virtual machine you can run inside of your Linux machine.
Exactly. It's like, and that is a useful tool for those of you who's like, I have this one lousy app because they won't make it for Linux. I have to reboot and I hate it and I'm tortured.
I mean, basically the one thing I would say is don't try to run 3D games or anything in it, and what else was there? Videos, I guess. I mean, videos might work, actually. I've had really good luck running Flash stuff within virtual machines.
Yeah, no, Flash isn't the big problem there. The problem is when you're doing resource ridiculously intensive stuff, because you are effectively running two OSs at once. That's like, which is a higher load on the system. You cannot dedicate 100% of your system resources to a virtual machine because the parent OS running the virtual machine needs some of those resources.
Yeah. Like if you have a quad-core machine and you give 3 of the 4 cores and like I've got 8 gigs of RAM, if you gave 7.5 gigs of RAM to it, you'd not be running terribly well.
Yeah.
Because you gotta have something to run the OS.
Well, it's like, and honestly, on true powerhouse systems where you're doing that, it's a worthy investment to, at a minimum, invest in enough memory that you have how much memory you want for each OS. Like right. if I want 8 gig for Linux and I want 8 gig for Windows, I should put 16 gig in the machine. It's like it's a good idea. And we've kind of beaten that topic to death. Anything else you want to go into, or probably a good place called stop, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Alright. Bing bong, the recording's dead.